All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're breaking down a massive day of World Cup qualifying action happening all over the globe. And you're going to want to stick around because October 10th, well, it's shaping up to be a day for the Giants. So, what's the big story for today? It's pretty clear. From Africa all the way to Europe, the powerhouse nations are expected to just rule. We're looking at a bunch of matches that, at least on paper, seem incredibly one-sided. But hey, we all know how football works. Predictions mean a thing once that whistle blows.
First up, let's head over to Africa. We've got some of the continent's biggest teams facing some really important tests on the road. So let's see what the predictions are saying for these traveling titans.
And we're starting with the classic David versus Goliath situation. I mean, just look at this table. You've got Seychelles sitting at the very bottom of Group F with, get this, 0 points. And who are they hosting? The group leaders, Ivory Coast, with a perfect 18 points. It really doesn't get much more lopsided than that.
So no surprise here. The prediction is a pretty comfortable 3-0 win for the Elephants. And since they're expected to have a full-strength squad, the thinking isn't just a win, it's a clean sheet. They're expected to be in total control.
Now let's hop over to Group B, and you'll see a very similar story playing out. South Sudan, with just 3 points, is going up against the reigning African champs, Senegal. And just like Ivory Coast, they're sitting at the top with a perfect record. Another case of top versus bottom. You know, the interesting thing here is just how confident everyone is in Senegal's attack. The prediction isn't just about the win, it's specifically over 1.5 goals. And let's be honest, with a player like Sadio Mane leading that attack, you'd expect the Lions of Teranga to find the back of the net a couple of times for a solid 2-0 victory.
Okay, now for Nigeria's match against Lesotho. This one's a little different. Yeah, Nigeria are still the clear favorites, predicted to win 2-0. But look at their group standing. They're in 4th place. They've got some ground to make up, which really cranks up the pressure. This is an absolute must-win for the Super Eagles. But here's the potential problem. Nigeria's heading into this crucial game with a pretty significant injury list. We're talking about key players, too. Defenders like Ola Aina and attackers like Cyril Dessers are out. It just goes to show you, even for the biggest teams, that road to the World Cup is always full of challenges.
All right, let's switch continents and head to Europe, where this whole theme of dominance gets turned up to 11. For these European giants, playing at home is expected to lead to some seriously high-scoring games.
First up, Belgium. Now this is interesting because it's actually a top-of-the-table clash, first place versus second place in Group G. But even though North Macedonia is in a strong position, the prediction is a heavy 3-0 home win for Belgium. That tells you a lot about the perceived gap in quality between these two.
And yeah, that over 2.5 goals prediction pretty much seals it. I mean, when you have stars like Kevin De Bruyne pulling the strings, you just expect a footballing masterclass in Brussels. They should cruise through this one.
Next, let's talk about the World Cup runners-up, France. They're at home against Azerbaijan, a team that's only managed to get 1 point so far. This has all the makings of a rout, and the predicted score, well, it definitely reflects that.
A massive 4-0. That's the biggest predicted win of the entire day across all the major games. When you've got the kind of firepower that Kylian Mbappe and the rest of that squad bring to the table, especially at home, a goal fest feels almost inevitable.
And that theme just keeps on going with Germany. Another giant at home, another lopsided match against a team, Luxembourg, that hasn't even gotten a single point yet. And, ooh, would you look at that prediction? Another huge 4-0.
But wait a second. Just like with Nigeria, there's a catch. Germany's dealing with some major absences. We're talking their rockin' defense, Antonio Rudiger, and their electric attackers, Kai Havertz and Jamal Musiala. These are massive names to be missing from any lineup.
And yet, this is what's so incredible. This just shows you the insane depth these top nations have. It's one thing to have star players, but it's another thing entirely to have world-class replacements just ready to step in without missing a beat. So even with 3 of their biggest names out, the prediction doesn't change one bit. That tells you everything you need to know about the gap in talent.
So after looking at all these key matches across 2 continents, what's the big picture? What's the main story we should be following on this huge day of World Cup qualifying?
Well, to wrap it all up, the outlook today is that both African and European giants are massive favorites, mostly in what should be high-scoring games. What's really fascinating is that even major injuries, like the ones facing Nigeria and Germany, aren't expected to change the final result. The entire day is basically defined by these classic David versus Goliath showdowns.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought, right? On a day that's filled with what look like predictable outcomes and impossible odds, it makes you wonder, in these exact moments, when victory seems like a sure thing, where does the magic of football hide? I guess that's what we'll all be watching to find out.